Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a classic that really punches above its weight. George Orwell's Animal Farm, it's subtitled A Fairy Story, but it's this incredibly sharp allegorical novella. He uses, talking farm animals to deliver a really biting political satire. Our mission today is to kind of dig into why this story, written decades ago, still feels so potent, so relevant. And it kicks off with this central paradox, doesn't it? How this initial, almost utopian dream, animals overthrowing their human oppressors, how that ultimately twists into this oppressive dystopian regime run by the pigs themselves. It's quite the shift, and it all culminates in that absolutely chilling final commandment. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Just, wow.
It really is powerful. And I think to properly get it, you have to see the historical context. Animal Farm directly mirrors events leading up to the Russian Revolution in 1917, and then, crucially, what happened afterwards, moving into the Stalinist era. Orwell himself was a democratic socialist, you see, but he was deeply, deeply critical of the power abuses he saw happening in the Soviet Union under Stalin. What's really fascinating, though, is when he wrote it, this was during World War II, Britain was actually allied with the Soviet Union against Nazi Germany. So writing a sharp critique, basically a send-up of the Soviet Union, as some put it, was incredibly controversial. Several publishers initially rejected it for exactly that reason. Stalin was an ally at the time.
Right, knowing the context writing it then makes the whole thing even sharper, doesn't it? So, okay, let's get into the story itself. You have Old Major, this prize boar, planting the seeds of rebellion with his dream of freedom from Mr. Jones, the farmer. The animals revolt successfully, and they establish Animal Farm. They have their 7 commandments of animalism, like all animals are equal. Initially, it's all hope and promise, but then you get the power struggle, Snowball and Napoleon, pigs, of course.
Exactly. That initial victory, it doesn't last long before it becomes this intense rivalry. You've got Snowball, who's kind of the intellectual idealist, very much like a Trotsky figure, and then there's Napoleon. Ruthless, pragmatic, quiet, but manipulative. A clear parallel to Stalin, and Napoleon doesn't play fair. He uses brute force. These dogs he secretly trained to violently chase Snowball off the farm. Takes complete control. And key to his control is Squealer, another pig. Napoleon's, let's call him his spin doctor, his minister of propaganda. Squealer is brilliant in a terrible way at manipulating language, rewriting history, even twisting Snowball's ideas and claiming Napoleon thought of them. And critically, he keeps changing the 7 commandments, bit by bit, to justify whatever the pigs want to do.
Oh, Squealer is terrifying in his own way.
Yeah.
But the character that always just gets me is Boxer, the horse. So loyal, so hardworking. His motto's, I will work harder, and Napoleon is always right. He embodies the sort of exploited believer. And his end, collapsing from exhaustion after basically building the windmill single-hoofed and then being sold to the knacker, the glue factory. While Squealer tells everyone he's going to a top animal hospital, that betrayal, it's just a gut punch. That feels like the point of no return for the farm.
Absolutely. Boxer's fate is devastating. It's Orwell showing how the most loyal, the hardest workers are often the ones most brutally exploited and discarded by totalitarian regimes. And it connects directly to that broader theme, the corruption of power. By the end of the novella, the pigs are literally walking on 2 legs, wearing Mr. Jones's clothes, drinking whiskey, playing cards with humans. They've become indistinguishable from the oppressors they overthrew. It perfectly illustrates that old saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and how revolutionary leaders can, become just as bad, if not worse, than the system they replaced.
And it wasn't just the dogs, the force, it was the words. How did they manage that so effectively, turning equality on its head, like banning Beasts of England, that inspirational song that started it all, and replacing it with something meaningless?
Yes, controlling the narrative is crucial.
And twisting all animals are equal into that final grotesque paradox. But some animals are more equal than others. It's such a blatant abuse of language yet. It works on the farm.
It's a chilling warning from Orwell, isn't it? He shows that the inability, or maybe the unwillingness of the ordinary animals to question authority, to think critically, is what allows the pigs to get away with it. Think about Boxer's blind loyalty, or the sheep constantly bleating whatever slogan Squealer teaches them. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, and suddenly 4 legs good, 2 legs better. They can just accept it. It really condemns that kind of complacency, that lack of vigilance from the working class, you could say.
And the book's own history is kind of ironic, too. Banned for decades in the Soviet Union and Eastern Bloc countries, obviously. But then you find out the CIA secretly funded the 1954 animated movie version as anti-communist propaganda during the Cold War. Talk about complex reception.
It really is. And look, the reason we're still talking about it, the reason it feels so relevant now, it's because Orwell nailed something fundamental about power and control. His exploration of manipulating truth, fake news, if you will, rewriting history, the rise of authoritarian figures, how propaganda works, it all resonates so strongly in our current political climate with social media and everything. It's still an incredibly effective tool for teaching basic civics, really, about the need for an informed, critical population to avoid sliding into complacency.
Absolutely. Animal Farm remains this essential, timeless warning against tyranny in all its forms. Its power hasn't faded one bit.
So, maybe the final thought for you listening is this. Orwell showed how easily power corrupts and how language can be twisted step by step until the original ideals are unrecognizable. Given how relevant those warnings still feel today, how can you make sure you're spotting those subtle shifts, that manipulation of language and truth that Orwell warned about, before your own commandments, whatever they may be, get reduced to a single, twisted phrase? Something to think about.